Votes are still being counted in many states, votes in various races, including for the President of the United States. We're going to give you an update on what's going on and around the country, especially in the presidential race, and what's going on in Detroit also. There was a lot of action down at the TCF Center today in downtown Detroit, formerly Cobo Hall. You had Donald Trump supporters down there trying to force their way into TCF and claiming to be self-proclaimed poll workers and calling for the vote count to stop. Police had to be called. You had other protesters there saying to let the vote continue. Okay, people's voices need to be heard. We see votes are still being counted in Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia. So as it stands right now, Joe Biden is at 253 electoral college votes. Donald Trump is at 215. Joe Biden only needs 17 more electoral college votes to reach 270. We see that Trump has called for a recount in Wisconsin. He's filed lawsuits in a few states to stop the count, even though he's behind. It's just ridiculous. You know, this is a man who's not used to not being in control. This is a man who is used to filing frivolous lawsuits. And, you know, the whole thing is just ridiculous. So we're going to give you an update on what's going on and also some key races here in Detroit. We're going to look at the updates from the Washington Post. I'm refreshing my computer right now, refreshing the screen, looking at these updates. Washington Post and NBC News. We'll look at the updates there. So I hope everybody's doing well. And, you know, this is why it's important to vote. You know, you have I posted on our on my Facebook fan page, the African History Network, and my YouTube and my personal page also. I posted if the African American vote doesn't matter, why do you have Trump supporters trying to stop Black people's votes from being counted at the TCF Center in downtown Detroit? That made the news. They showed that on MSNBC today. That made the news around the country. We see also Arizona votes are still being counted in Arizona. Fox News called Arizona last night for Joe Biden. MSNBC has not called Arizona yet. There are still about 300,000 or so mail-in ballots, absentee ballots that have to be counted. So this is why people vote. You had many people, you had a disinformation campaign, many people telling African Americans don't vote, your vote doesn't matter, etc. You have people on social media elevating their social media platforms by discouraging African Americans to vote, to keep them oppressed. And we see African Americans came out and voted in various cities across the country. We see votes are still being counted in Georgia. Donald Trump's lead in Georgia is shrinking as votes from Atlanta are being counted. So there's a lot going on. All right. So we're going to deal with that on today's show. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, And what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. Also, the information you take in is based upon, influences how you see yourself. So if you listen to Simple Simon ass people on social media telling you don't vote, your vote doesn't matter, why are you going to waste your time voting? I would tell them, why don't you go talk to white Republicans and tell them that and see how long you last? Because that's not what they're saying. Who's paying you to tell black people don't vote? Who's paying you to discourage black people not to vote? You have to be getting paid, because you can't be this stupid for free. You have to be getting paid, because you can't be this stupid for free. Or maybe you can. So what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. About yourself is based upon what you've been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the compass of your actions, because the mind can't do it. We deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. The sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. The sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. Now somebody posted on social media platforms, black people were Republicans before Democrats. I've done a 3-hour presentation dealing with the history why African Americans switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. So if you're going to say something like that, then you have to talk about the compromise of 1877 between Republicans and Democrats, and Republicans agreed to remove the Union troops out of the South, which ended Reconstruction. So Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican, could become president, and then you have to deal with the Lily White movement in 1928, which was a movement by Republicans to push African Americans out of the Republican Party and to get Herbert Hoover elected in the 1928 presidential election by implementing a Southern strategy to target 5 former Confederate states to get the Southern Dixiecrats, the Southern segregationist Democrats in those 5 former Confederate states, to vote for the Republican Herbert Hoover. So we can have this conversation if you like. I'm a historian. We can talk about this. If you want to talk about why African Americans switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, and we find the Democratic Party more receptive to our issues and concerns because we were being ignored by the Republican Party. So we can have this conversation. I'm the right person on the right day. So how's everybody doing? Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. You actually have somebody who knows what they're talking about. Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. We're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. My YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. And on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation WFDF here in Detroit, because I'm a radio talk show host here in Detroit. We're on 6 nights a week. We're on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation WFDF. And we're also on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation WFDF. Before COVID-19, you would see me in the studio, in the radio station studio on Sunday nights. So you can do that. Now, somebody posted Democrats destroyed Detroit. It'd be good for you to read an article by Marilyn Katz for InTheseTimes.com called Beyond the Myth of Black Misleadership, the Downfall of Detroit, which deals with the deindustrialization of the inner city, the U.S. Interstate Highway Acts of 1952 and 1956, deals with the Fair Housing Act of 1949 after World War II ends in 1945, and how it deals with how the suburbs were built and how redlining, which was created by the federal government coming from the Homeowners Loan Corporation in 1933, 1934, and about 1937, how redlining was used to block us out of buying homes in the newly formed suburbs, which are being formed after World War II ends, and how we've been discriminated when it comes to the GI Bill and taking advantage of getting low interest loans through the GI Bill, and how white people are allowed to put 3% down on low interest loans to get houses built in the newly formed suburbs. When we try to take advantage of those programs, we're locked out of that. When we try to buy property using those programs in the inner city, we're locked out of that. And then you have the industries move from the inner city, moved out to the suburbs. So when African Americans take over the city of Detroit, African American political leadership, like Mayor Coleman Alexander Young, January 1974, Detroit and many other cities like Detroit were already on life support. There was already declining tax base going back to 1961 in Detroit, when there was a tax shortage of $16 million. There was a declining population in Detroit. Detroit's population peaked at about 1.8 million in 1950. And we can have this conversation if you like. 313-778-7600. Jodeci said, come and talk to me. You can call us, 313-778-7600. We can have this conversation if you like. You got the right person on the right day. Those social media talking points that you get from other people, they don't work here. You got somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. 313-778-7600 is the calling number. This is the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. So we're going to give you an update on what's going on. So let's see here. Let's look at the updates from Washington Post. Some people say, oh, you're so arrogant. No, it's called being confident. And it's not arrogance when you can back it up. All right, so let's look at the updates from Washington Post, and we'll look at NBC News. We'll look at Detroit Free Press as well. Counts continue in Georgia and Arizona. Trump mounts legal challenges. Isn't it interesting how a criminal wants to run to the courts and call things against the law? He's a criminal. This is unindicted co-conspirator number one. Come on, man. Come on. Now, Democratic nominee Biden is 17 electoral college from a victory in the presidential race, projected by Edison Research to flip Michigan. So the MSNBC called Michigan for Joe Biden this afternoon as the projected winner. So he'll get the 16 electoral college votes associated with Michigan. And also he is the apparent winner in Wisconsin. Now they call him the apparent winner in Wisconsin because Donald Trump is calling for a recall because of it's less than 1 percentage point difference, if I remember correctly. Based upon Wisconsin state law, the challenger can call for a recall. So go ahead and call for your little recall. Okay. You should be making arrangements for a moving van to move your behind out the White House. And be a good idea for you to lawyer up. No, well, actually, it'd be a good idea for you to pay your legal fees because you're going to need some attorneys when you leave the White House. Also, we see projected by Edison Research to flip Joe Biden, projected by Edison Research to flip Michigan, Wisconsin, Alaska, potentially Pennsylvania. Votes are taking place in Pennsylvania right now. And Donald Trump's lead in Pennsylvania is shrinking. North Carolina could go to Joe Biden. In Georgia, Donald Trump's lead in Georgia is shrinking. They're counting the votes from Atlanta. Atlanta turned out. African Americans turned out. They said, your ass got to go. This is what I said before. I said, oh, no. We ain't taking this. Arizona, Nevada. Okay, Arizona, they're counting the Arizona now. They're counting the votes from Maricopa County in Arizona. Nevada, we expect on Thursday to get the final votes from Nevada. It's expected the 6 electoral college votes for Nevada will go to Joe Biden. Now, the projection comes as Donald Trump's reelection campaign attempted to halt vote counting in Pennsylvania and Michigan, sought a recount in Wisconsin, and challenged the handling of ballots in Georgia. You know, isn't it like it's interesting? A criminal wants to run to the courts. He said, we're going to take this to the Supreme Court. We're going to take this to the Supreme Court. Now, 2:30 Wednesday morning, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time Wednesday morning, he does a press conference. Well, not a press conference. He does an address and claims victory and then calls for the vote for the counting to stop. He said he said he called for the voting to stop. The voting already stopped. They're counting the votes. Okay. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. I got to reconnect to the radio station. All right. How's everybody doing? So you listen to the right show. How's everybody doing today? So what we have to focus on is on the other side of this election. Now it's projected that Republicans will maintain control of the U.S. Senate. Hey, Shakita, this is Michael calling back. All right. It's projected that Republicans will maintain control of the U.S. Senate. But so it's going to be tougher. You're still going to have a challenge getting a lot of these bills passed through the Senate, but without Donald Trump there, it could be easier. And with Joe Biden there, Joe Biden has relationships with a lot of Republicans in the Senate. You may be able to get a lot of these bills passed through the Senate. You'll be able to get them passed in the House, most likely. Democrats are projected to maintain the House, so they'll have about an 8 or 9 seat advantage in the House of Representatives. So we got to focus on getting a return on our investment and pushing all these bills through to get them signed into law. All right, all right, let's see. Let's go back. How's everybody doing? Stand by. All right. Also, you can advertise with the African History Network. You think Biden will be able to do that? Because Biden was in the Senate for over 30 years. And you got one white man talking to other old white men. That old white man talk. Kamala Harris has relationships in the Senate also, even though she's in the Senate less. But Trump caused a lot of division between the parties. He caused a lot of division in the House and the Senate. So some things you may not be able to get passed in the Senate, but you could probably get more passed. You probably get more passed in the Senate. But this is an example of why, of how let's set consequences and why the U.S. Senate is so important. Now, the other thing is, well, we say this too when we come back from the break, because we're on commercial break right now. Yeah, it's about getting together, pushing our agenda. Absolutely, pushing these policies through. Some people are more engaged than others. Sherwin said Kamala 2024. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Wednesday, November 4th, 2020, the day after Election Day, the day after the most monumental presidential election probably in the last 100 years. Probably the most monumental presidential election since historian John Meacham, I think he said, since the presidential election in 1932 when Herbert Hoover ran against Franklin Roosevelt. And because Herbert Hoover mishandled the Great Depression, you know, last week we dealt with the history of the Great Depression, the stock market crash in 1929, all that. It was one show last week. I don't remember which day. Go back and look at the podcast. Okay. Most monumental presidential election probably since then. All right. So everybody that voted, you are part of history, but more importantly, you're part of helping to push an agenda, push issues and policies that benefit African Americans. So let's look at an update on what's going on. We're going to look at Washington Post and NBC News, and because that's what we do. Okay. We don't deal with gossip. We don't deal with Jada told Pinkett Jada told Gail that what Kobe said or what this person said and that person Snoop all it. We don't deal with all that. Pebbles told Cookie what she thought she heard stuff. So the projection comes as Donald Trump's reelection campaign attempted to halt vote counting in Pennsylvania and Michigan, sought a recount in Wisconsin, and challenged the handling of ballots in Georgia. Donald Trump reminds me of a little kid that's a bully on the playground, and then things don't go his way. He wants to take all his marbles and go home. Or a person that's losing at the chess game, and they just knock all the pieces on the ground, and they say, and then they want to run. So in Arizona, counties continue to count with more than 300,000 ballots left to process and count. Maricopa, the state's biggest county, plans to release more votes around 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. In Georgia, Trump's lead has narrowed to roughly 40,000 on Wednesday. Actually, it's down to about 31,000 now, reporting from MSNBC, as the state's most populous and Democratic counties tally their remaining votes. So I mean, this is coming down. This is why elections have consequences. Every vote counts. Okay. So we'll see what happens with Georgia. In Nevada, updated vote totals won't be released until noon Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, officials said. North Carolina, just 117,000 outstanding ballots remain on Wednesday, revealing the challenge for Biden to overcome Trump's lead in the state. Pennsylvania, more than 1 million ballots were still being counted as of 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Pennsylvania. All right. Now, remember, Donald Trump won Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania by a total of 78,000 votes. He won Michigan by 10,704 votes. Jill Stein got 50,000 votes out of Michigan. Okay. Now, Trump supporters chant, count the votes in Arizona. Okay. Now, interesting. Arizona, Trump supporters are chanting, count the votes, because they think it's going to help Trump. In downtown Detroit, in Black Detroit, you had Trump supporters talking about stop the count. Make up your mind. Okay. How about this? Why don't you take your ass out to where you live and tell them stop the count out there? Why are you coming into Black Detroit with that nonsense? I bet you if Mayor Coleman Alexander Young was still mayor, I bet you they wouldn't come into Black Detroit talking that nonsense, talking about stop counting Black people's votes. Okay. You keep playing around if you want to. Then so they had to call the police on these people. WXYZ has the video. They show them escorting one of the Trump supporters out of the TCF Center. Okay, they had to call the police on them, and you had Michigan State Police down there, things like that. Now, so it was people were clapping for that the police came and escorted them out of TCF Center, protesters. All the people talking about defund the police. I ain't hear anybody talk about defunding the police there. I'm just saying, we've talked about this on the show. Shrink responsibility, reallocate resources. We talked about that. You shrink the responsibilities of police officers so that things that don't require somebody showing up with a gun, okay, things that are non-violent, somebody who is mentally ill, like you have a lot of people in downtown Detroit mentally ill. Some of them mentally ill in U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate also, but that's another conversation. We don't need a police officer showing up to deal with somebody mentally ill. You need somebody who's a mental health professional. But when you shrink the responsibilities of police officers, that frees up money. You can reallocate resources into other areas, mental health facilities, Head Start, education, things that improve the quality of life and reduce crime. So we talk about that, but you still need police. Okay. So dozens of protesters, many with pro-Trump flags and signs. I'm not sure if any of them had Confederate battle flags or were wearing white hoods. At least, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if they brought them with them, but dozens of protesters, many with pro-Trump flags and signs, gathered Wednesday night outside the Ballot County Center in Arizona's biggest county, which has been live streaming its process. Now, they chanted, "Let us in and count the votes," and we love Trump and question the integrity of the election system. Did you question the integrity of the election system in 2016 when Donald Trump mentioned WikiLeaks 164 times in the last 30 days of the presidential election? Did you question the integrity of the election system in 2016 when Donald Trump asked for help from Russia and asked Russia to find Hillary Clinton's missing 30,000 emails? Did you ask for, did you question the integrity of the election system in 2016 when there were over 100 contacts between the Trump campaign and Russians? Did you, I'm just trying to see if you're consistent. I'm just, did you, I don't understand. Okay. A smaller group of people upset over claims that have been emphatically denied by election officials that ballots completed with Sharpie pens were rejected had gathered at the Maricopa County Tabulation and Election Center not long before. At one point entering the building, officials eventually got them back outside. Now they left and then returned just before 8 p.m. in much greater numbers, prompting those inside the center to close the doors. Okay. This is about a fair and honest election, a man at the center of the crowd declared, later saying that people would be returning every day. There was rapid voter suppression election in. There's voter suppression. We posted the article from, see, I find it very interesting when you have these people who want to call for a free and fair election, but then don't denounce voter suppression tactics coming from the Republican Party. I just find that very interesting. Okay. If you want to be a hypocrite, I'm the wrong person to talk to, because I have a pretty good memory. And I remember 2016 when there were 868 fewer polling places, 14 new voter ID laws, U.S. Supreme Court case Shelby County versus Holder 2013, which gutted Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. I mean, so we can talk about a free and fair election, but when you gonna hold Republicans accountable for suppressing votes and voter suppression tactics? Now, Donald Trump's lead in Georgia narrows as Democratic stronghold counties count remaining ballots. Trump's lead in votes counted in Georgia narrowed to fewer than 32,000 by Wednesday night, as the state's most populous and Democratic counties tally the remainder of their absentee and early votes. Okay, and what's interesting is when you have these people trying to stop the count of African Americans' votes. If your vote didn't matter, why are people trying to stop us from voting and stop our votes from being counted? Once again, why don't you go out to your own communities and tell them stop the vote out there? There were about 91,000 absentee and early ballots left to count in the state as of Wednesday night, with the majority of those ballots remaining in the Democratic stronghold counties of Fulton County and DeKalb County, according to the Secretary of State's office. Okay, that's not Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, Republican, said in a briefing earlier Wednesday that he was pushing for the vast majority of votes to be counted by the end of the day. Okay, so we'll see what's going on in Georgia. And we know African Americans turned out in Georgia. A small team of Fulton County registration and election workers processed absentee ballots overnight, and a larger team continued that work at 8:30 a.m. Wednesday. Fulton County is the state's most populous and reliable Democratic county. In DeKalb County, one of the state's largest and most diverse, home to part of Atlanta and its suburbs, election officials were processing and counting about 48,000 absentee ballots as of Wednesday afternoon. Erica Hamilton, head of the county's election office, said in a statement. Okay, now Hillary Clinton carried 79% of the DeKalb County vote in 2016, and with thousands of votes still to count at 1:30 p.m. 1:30 p.m. today, Biden had won 83%. Atlanta turned out. Atlanta turned out and turned up. Okay, let's see here. So nearly 340,000 early ballots uncounted in Maricopa County, in Arizona and Nevada, waiting to update vote totals, we see. Okay, a batch of ballots reported by Maricopa County on Wednesday night favored Donald Trump, who won 58% of the new ballots compared with Biden's 40%, narrowing the race. So that was about 75,000 votes. Okay, that particular batch was about 75,000 votes. The Libertarian ticket got just under 2%. Biden currently leads Donald Trump in counted ballots by about 80,000 votes in Arizona. Okay, so now Republicans don't get hopped for a pickup in Michigan, as Senator Gary Peters is projected to hold his Senate seat and beat John James. This is according to the Edison research. Senator Gary Peters, Democrat from Michigan, and John James is African American. In many of his commercials, he didn't want to tell you that he was a Republican. He's a veteran and business executive, seen as a rising star in the Republican Party, probably like Daniel Cameron, Republican from Kentucky, the Attorney General of Kentucky, who didn't seek charges against any of the officers for killing Breonna Taylor. So the one-term incumbent, Senator Gary Peters, was one of just two Democrats facing competitive re-election fights this year. The other, Senator Doug Jones of Alabama, lost his race. I talked to Senator Doug Jones on Roland Martin Unfiltered a couple Fridays ago. I'm a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered each Friday, and Roland was interviewing Senator Doug Jones of Alabama. So Senator Doug Jones lost his race to Tommy Tuberville, who's a idiot. Go, they have it on the internet. You can probably see it on YouTube. Tommy Tuberville was asked about the Voting Rights Act in 1965. He gave the most illiterate, uneducated answer regarding the Voting Rights Act. Okay. Now, it's interesting that he is running as a senator from Alabama, because he sounded like a Bama. It's the most illogical. It's the most illogical thing. Hey, Shakita, do me a favor. See if you can find the clip. Tommy Tuberville, Alabama, 1965 Voting Rights Act. I'll see if I can pull up, but see if you can pull up that clip. He's asked about it, and you can tell he has absolutely no clue what he's talking about. But so this is somebody who's going to be a U.S. senator. They're only 100. He's going to be voting to confirm an attorney general, Supreme Court justices, possibly federal judges. He's going to be voting on policies dealing with health care, all different types of things like this. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. It's Tommy Tuberville, Tuberville, Tommy Tuberville. Okay. All right. Let's continue here, because we only have an hour in this show. So Senator Gary Peters is going to hold on to a Senate seat. We know Representative Rashida Tlaib was reelected. We see that the squad, Representative Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, they all were reelected. Now, let's see. Okay. All right, some of the stuff I'm going to skip over. Okay, so as Michigan is called for Joe Biden, tensions and challenges surround the vote counting process. This was earlier today. With Michigan's 16 electoral college votes becoming critical to the outcome of the election, tensions rose Wednesday as Donald Trump's campaign asked the courts to stop vote counting in the state, and Republican demonstrators loudly demanded access to a downtown venue, TCF Center, used to be Cobo Hall, where ballots were being tallied. Now, the brief frenzy of activity came not long before Edison Research projected that Joe Biden would win in Michigan, which had been one of the pivotal remaining battlegrounds determining who would prevail in the bitterly fought election. Now, Donald Trump won Michigan by 10,704 votes. He won by 0.2 of a percentage point in 2016. Jill Stein, who the Green Party candidate, got 50,000 votes. I don't know why. She didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning. I don't know why you vote for Jill Stein, but okay. There were 90,000 people who voted in the 2016 in Michigan, but who did not vote for president. They left that blank. That doesn't make sense. That helped Trump win. That doesn't make sense. Then the interstate cross-checking system knocked about 54,000 people off the voter rolls in Michigan also, not 1.1 million people off the voter rolls nationwide. So okay, so we had that taking place at the TCF Center downtown. All right, I'm looking at some of these updates. Okay. All right, so when we look at the protests in downtown Detroit, a group of protesters converged Wednesday afternoon on a facility in Detroit where election administrators are counting absentee ballots, demanding to watch the process alongside credentialed challengers who have been monitoring the tabulation of votes. So what happened was you had self-proclaimed poll watchers just show up, Donald Trump supporters trying to force their way in, saying they want to watch the counting. No. You have legitimate poll watchers who go through the process to become a poll watcher, both Democrats and Republicans, who are allowed in. It got to the point where inside the TCF Center, where they were counting the ballots, they reached capacity. They couldn't let any more people in, and legitimate poll watchers could not be allowed in. Okay, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. Now, videos posted by local media show dozens of protesters streaming into the TCF Center in downtown Detroit. Some could be heard banging on windows, chanting "Stop the count," while others tried to force their way into the ballot counting area, according to a live stream posted by the Detroit Free Press. Yeah, check out the Detroit Free Press, freep.com. They did some really good reporting. Also, 910 AM Superstation's own Bankaley Thompson. Bankaley Thompson was in downtown Detroit. I saw some of his feed. My friend Marnice showed me he was in downtown Detroit interviewing some people. He has more patience to deal with Trump supporters than I do. So I shout out to Bankaley Thompson. So outside the center, another group of demonstrators chanted, "Count every vote, count every vote." Okay. Why are you calling for the count to be stopped? Why you don't want all the votes to be counted? Why? Most of the people saying stop counting the votes were white. You in downtown Detroit, they're counting probably the majority of these votes that are being counted are votes from African Americans. I mean, this looks like something from the 1960s. This is like some type of voter suppression from the 1960s. Now, shortly afterward, security officers shut the doors to the room where officials were tallying the vote, barring any more people from entering. the Detroit Free Press reported. Guards could be seen in social media videos blocking the entrance. Guards could be seen in social media videos blocking the entrance, while election workers inside partially covered the windows with white posters. The chair of Michigan's Republican Party called the protesters poll challengers, although it was not immediately clear if anyone from the group was credentialed for that purpose. Now, the reporting from MSNBC and local news here in Detroit was that these were a bunch of self-proclaimed poll watchers. What polls have you watched in the past? When you watched the polls, did you have dollar bills in your hand? A lot of these people are just self-proclaimed poll watchers. They just showed up Trump supporters. We want to watch the polls, and then calling for the votes. Stop counting the votes. Lawrence Garcia, a city attorney for Detroit, said roughly equal numbers of Democrat and Republican election challengers had been watching poll workers count absentee ballots early in the day Wednesday. One challenger from each party is allowed at each of the center's 134 counting boards, the TCF Center. One challenger from each party, Democrat and Republican, is allowed at each of the center's 134 counting boards, the panels of poll workers who tabulate the votes. So there are legitimate poll workers, and they have a Democrat and Republican there, to monitor the counting. That's fine. By mid-afternoon, Lawrence Garcia, a city attorney for Detroit, said the center's sign-in book showed more than 250 Democrats and 225 Republicans were inside, crowding the room where counting was taking place. Quote, when we saw that, we said, whoops, we better stop people from coming in until we get a better number. Whoop, there it is. A lot of people screamed and shouted, but they responded to the police when the police told them to calm down. They responded to the police when police told them to calm down. Now, the situation cooled off later in the day. About 6 p.m., a couple of dozen people were still lingering outside. Garcia said, quote, there were 2 or 3 hours where things were testy in the sense that people wanted to get in. That's okay in a democracy. It was just passionate advocacy for their point of view. I just have, the people coming in talking about stop the count. Where do y'all live? What zip code you live in? You have to cross 8 Mile to come into Detroit. I just find it. I bet you if Coleman Alexander Young was still mayor, they wouldn't try no stuff like that. Now, election officials in Arizona rebut claims that ballots marked with Sharpies were disqualified. We talked about that a little bit. Check out go to WashingtonPost.com. Check out their updates, the live updates. Go to NBCNews.com. Check out the live updates also. So we're going to flip over. We'll look at the live updates at NBCNews.com also. Now, when we look at the Electoral College map, or the voting, the Electoral College count, I should say, Biden's at 253 Electoral College votes. He just needs 17 more to clinch 270. Takes 270 to become president-elect. Donald Trump is at 214. When we look at the popular vote, Biden has 71,601,711 votes, 50.5% of the votes at this point in time. Donald Trump has 68,042,426, 48%. The report came out today that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have received the most number of popular votes in presidential history. The most number of popular votes in presidential history. When we look at the U.S. Senate, it is 47 Democrats, 48 Republicans. And it appears that Republicans will maintain control of the Senate. You still have some races that have to be counted. We see in Georgia, there's going to be a runoff in a senatorial seat race in Georgia. We'll give you some more updates tomorrow night. Also, it appears Democrats will take control, will maintain control of the House of Representatives, even though they did lose some seats. Right now, it looks like 197 Democratic seats, 197 seats held by Democrats and 186 held by Republicans right now. And there's still some elections. There's still some races being tallied. All right. Let's see here. Let's look at I want to look at NBC News. So now the other thing is, that's important to understand, the other side of this race is that African Americans have to organize, and all these bills, all these promises, the Biden plan for Black America, Lift Every Voice, we need to push pedal to the metal and push all these policies through the White House. Some policies can be changed at the federal level without going through Congress. There were 192 executive orders that Donald Trump has signed. Majority of those need to be reversed. A lot of those executive orders were reversing policies from the Obama administration. Donald Trump just signed an executive order that makes it easier for him to fire federal employees. That's dangerous. That's dangerous because, you know, a good percentage of federal employees are African Americans also. But he signed 192 executive orders. Most of those have to be reversed. There were policy changes that took place in the Department of Education, Department of Justice, things like this. People don't understand how important the position of president is. But it's not just president, it's also House of Representatives and U.S. Senate. But there's a lot of power that a president has. This is why you can't have a madman as somebody who's incompetent like Trump as president. Okay, I'm scanning through these updates here from NBC News. Voters around the U.S. approve police reform measures. Voters around the U.S. approve police reform measures. Now, voters in at least 6 states overwhelmingly approved reform measures on Election Day, reflecting a growing demand for greater law enforcement accountability after the death of George Floyd. Creating and strengthening police oversight boards, changing department staffing and funding levels, and allowing greater public access to body and dashboard camera recordings were among the measures approved by voters around the country. Ishikita, let me know how much time we have left in the show. Many of the reforms run along the lines of laws already passed in localities in other states, such as Massachusetts and New York. In response to widespread protests over racial injustice and police violence nationwide, voters in nearly a dozen cities and counties in California, Texas, Oregon, and Ohio approved creating, overhauling, or strengthening police oversight boards. Okay, now, you know, we've talked about the Jobs and Justice Act of 2020. Okay, that has to be passed in the Senate. You got to push that through in the Senate. Incorporated into that is police reform. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act was incorporated into that. In Portland, Oregon, where police protests have been ongoing since George Floyd's death, May 25th, 2020, over 80% of voters passed a measure 2017, which amends the city's charter to create a police oversight committee that would have the power to investigate the use of deadly force and allegations of misconduct by officers. The committee would also have power to discipline officers for wrongdoing. Okay, so so when you look at changing these laws, okay, you're looking at the city charter, but you're also looking at the police union's contract that the police officers union negotiated with the city. So there are different levels of there are different levels and different entities that come into play when you're talking about police reform and changing these laws, changing these policies. All right. So we'll continue with more updates on tomorrow night's show. Hey, if you'd like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHN Show, paypal.me / the AHN Show, and at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, so that really helps out, being that we're here 6 nights a week now, as opposed to 1 night a week. Okay, because there's a lot more research, and this helps us to keep broadcasting, stay on the air, keep doing the research, etc. All of my DVD lectures are available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and also articles that I've written as well. You can read at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. When we look at coronavirus, Donald Trump said, "Oh, they're going to stop talking about coronavirus on November 4th." Well, there's 100,000 new cases today. I don't think we're going to stop talking about it, Donald. You know, so look at we'll give you an update on coronavirus here. I'm pretty sure now. I'm sure Donald Trump would like us to stop talking about coronavirus, but the infection, the cases keep happening because the infection keeps spreading, because you don't have a national plan to deal with coronavirus. You just want to wish it away and wait for a vaccine, while you kept holding super spreaders. So we're going to continue this for a little while longer on our social media platforms. We're out of time here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Remember, at the African History Network, we focused on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Stay tuned for Greg Davis. After that, Michael Based. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by, everybody. Station. All right, let's continue here. Disconnect the call. All right, how's everybody doing? Stand by. We're gonna look at a few more updates here, and then we're gonna get out of here. Okay, let's see. Let's look at this. Just give me a second here to flip over. All right, so all these policies, all these issues that we were fighting for, we got to push pedal to the metal. The same way that Republicans pushed the same way Republicans pushed the vote of Amy Coney Barrett through the White House. Okay, I'm sorry, through the U.S. Senate, they rammed it through. Okay, we need to do the same thing with all these policies. Okay, this now is going to happen over the course of 4 years, and not just 2 years, possibly over the course of 4 years. What I mean by that is that it appears right now that Republicans will maintain control of the U.S. Senate. Because Trump is not, okay, can you all still hear me on Facebook? Because Trump is not president, because hopefully Trump will be gone, a lot of the division dissipate, okay? And you can get more of these bills passed through the Senate. Now, if Democrats had control of the Senate, or if there's a 50-50 tie, if it's 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans in the Senate, then who gets the tie-breaking vote? The vice president, which is another reason why it's so important who you vote for president. Now, people who talk about the electoral college, and we don't choose the president, electoral college chooses the president, okay? Well, you're voting for electors from a political party, but I notice Republicans don't talk about, oh, we don't choose the president, electoral college chooses the president. They say, no, we're going to vote for Donald Trump. All right. So let's look at this briefly. And then my friend Marnice posted this on Instagram. I'm rooting for everybody black except John James. Okay, John James was running for president. Then somebody posted on social media. They said, who would have thought the presidential election would come down to a WAP? Wisconsin, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. Okay, WAP. like Cardi B. Okay, so I posted this. I've done a entire lecture dealing with the history of the Electoral College. Okay, and no, you can't get a scholarship to go to the Electoral College. It's not like Hillman College. Okay, but so I said the Electoral College does not vote until the first Monday following the second Wednesday in December. In 2016, it fell on December 19th. A candidate becomes president-elect by winning 270 or more Electoral College votes. You need at least 270 Electoral College votes, okay, on the day of the presidential election, or it could be the next morning, the next day, etc., when they finish counting the votes. You reach 270 by winning the Electoral College votes associated with a state. You reach 270 by winning the Electoral College votes associated with a state. California has the most at 66. You have Texas with 38. Michigan with 16. You win the Electoral College votes associated with a state by winning the popular vote in the state. By winning the popular vote in the state. Anyone who says the popular vote doesn't matter has never studied how the Electoral College works, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. The popular vote does matter. It's not the national popular vote that matters. There is no really national election. There are actually 50 individual state elections. There are actually 50 individual state elections. It's the popular vote per state that matters. And you win the Electoral College votes associated with a state, like Biden will win the 16 associated with Michigan by winning the popular vote in the state. So these people tell you, oh, it don't matter who you vote for because Electoral College, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So it's the popular vote per state that matters, not the national popular vote totals. Republicans had new voter ID laws in 14 states in 2016 and engaged in rapid voter suppression in key battleground states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. They were trying to suppress the vote because they understand how the Electoral College works. So even though Hillary Clinton got 3 million more popular votes nationwide, because Trump won Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania by a total of 78,000 Electoral College votes, he got 270. He actually got a total of 306 Electoral College votes. But what happens is when we don't understand the rules of the game and how the game is played, we keep getting played. This is why when I talk about 6 principles of political self-defense, understanding how laws and policies impact the economic conditions of African Americans, I say we need to understand the law better than they understand the law. If we keep talking about how they use the law against us and they're using the law to trap us and to keep us down, all this stuff, well, shouldn't we know the law better than they know the law? Shouldn't we know the law better than they know the law? Shouldn't we understand where all the pitfalls are and all the booby traps are, and how to disarm them of this weapon that they keep using against us? Or we just gonna keep complaining? So, I think based upon my training, based upon my teachers, we need to understand this better than they understand that. So we can disarm of that weapon. They can't keep using it against us. But some people would rather just keep complaining. This was that whole disinformation, voter depression campaign we talked about last week. There's an article from there's an article from National Public Radio, NPR.org. Black and Latino voters flooded with disinformation in the election's final days. Black and Latino voters flooded with disinformation in the election's final days, from National Public. Okay, check out that article. We talked about that. How's everybody doing? Okay, so let's see. We have Toya, we have Lawrence, Trinice, Sherwin, Keita, Romeo, just a few of the people watching us on our social media platforms. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and also on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, Michael Imhotep, as well on YouTube. If you want to advertise with the African History Network, email us, customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com, customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. We have a few more slots available on our daily show. We're sold out for Sunday night, but we have a few more slots here, and we take your 30-second to 60-second commercial, and I create a video commercial for you, and we re-air it during the rebroadcast of our shows also, and your audio commercial will be in the audio podcast format of our shows. And we're on 9 different podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio, Castbox, Stitcher, iTunes. Okay. Now, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum is right now scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits. The founder is Dr. Khalid Al-Hakim. He's from Detroit. For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Give them a call right now, 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, and visit their website, blackhistorymobilemuseum.com, blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. Now, a lot of people want to learn about investing in the stock market, and the profitroom.com can help you with this. Now, the Profit Room is a stock market trading and education company that has mentorship programs that are designed for beginners. They teach individuals how to create generational wealth through trading and investing in the financial markets. They specialize in day trading and one-on-one mentorship. Visit their website, theprofitroom.com, Profit, theprofitroom.com. You may have seen the article that blacknews.com had on them also. All right. Email us at customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, let's continue here. I want to look at a couple of things before we get out of here. And I'm not sure why the screen's freezing up on us, but we'll see. All right. We'll give you some updates on what's going on. We'll continue this on Thursday night show, give you some updates on what's going on. Let me look at a couple things here. There was some articles that I saw, some articles that I posted. Let's see. But all of these policies, the Jobs and Justice Act, $15 an hour, which passed the House of Representatives in July of 2019. Okay, all these bills that have been blocked in the Senate we got to push hard and put pressure on Moscow Mitch McConnell to get this stuff passed through the Senate. Okay, all these bills, we have to put pressure on to get this stuff passed through the Senate. Read the document Indivisible from the website indivisibleguide.com. Read the document Indivisible. Indivisible deals with how to put pressure and interact with your member of the House of Representatives in the U.S. Senate to get things accomplished. Indivisible. Okay. If we look at a update on coronavirus, and I want to switch over here to Washington Post. We look at the updates. Washington Post has some of the best updates on coronavirus. Where is it? Oh, this is election stuff. Let's flip over here. When we look at the Associated Press is an article from Wednesday, November 4th. U.S. sets record for cases amid election battle over virus. U.S. sets record for cases amid election battle over virus. We see, looking at the update. Okay, we'll bring this up from Washington Post. We'll go to this in just a second. New confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the U.S. have climbed to an all-time high of more than 86,000 per day on average, in a glimpse of the worsening crisis that lies ahead for the winner of the presidential election. Joe Biden has a plan to deal with it, a national plan. Donald Trump does not. Cases and hospitalizations are setting records all around the country, just as the holidays and winter approach, demonstrating the challenge that either President Donald Trump or former Vice President Joe Biden will face in the coming months. Daily new confirmed coronavirus cases in the U.S. have surged 45% over the past 2 weeks to a record 7-day average of 86,352. Daily new confirmed coronavirus cases in the U.S. have surged 45% over the past 2 weeks to a record 7-day average of 86,352, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. Now, deaths are on the rise, up 15% to an average of 846 deaths every day. Now, Donald Trump Jr. just a couple of weeks ago said, oh, practically nobody dies. Oh, it's almost down to nothing. Really? The total U.S. death toll is already more than 232,000, and total confirmed U.S. cases have surpassed 9 million. Those are the highest totals in the world, and new infections are increasing in nearly every state. Well, because you have incompetent leadership. Several states on Wednesday reported grim numbers that are fueling the national trends. Texas reported 9,048 new cases and 126 deaths. And the number of coronavirus patients in Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma hospitals set records. About a third of the new cases in Texas happened in hard-hit El Paso, where top health officials said hospitals are at a breaking point. Public health experts fear potentially dire consequences, at least in the short term. Now, Donald Trump's current term does not end until January 20th. In the 86 days until then, 100,000 more Americans will likely die from the virus if the nation does not shift course, said Dr. Robert Murphy, executive director of the Institute for Global Health at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine, echoing estimates from other public health experts. So check out this article here from Associated Press. We'll post this link. U.S. sets record for cases amid election battle over virus. When we look at the updates from the Washington Post for coronavirus updates, U.S. shatters records with more than 100,000 new coronavirus cases in a single day. Months ago, the notion of the United States recording more than 100,000 infections in a single day seemed inconceivable, but surging caseloads in nearly every state pushed the tally to a record 104,004 new infections on Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. And it wasn't even the biggest news story. As Americans anxiously waited to find out who the next president will be. 18 states, including Kansas, Tennessee, Virginia, Oklahoma, Montana, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Ohio, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Wisconsin, and West Virginia, reported record numbers of patients hospitalized with COVID-19. Record numbers of patients hospitalized with COVID-19. More than 1,110 fatalities were reported on Wednesday, November 4th, pushing the total number of deaths reported since February past 233,000, according to data tracked by the Washington Post. So when we look at significant developments that took place, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Wednesday that a new economic stimulus bill should be finalized before the end of the year and will be the focus when the Senate resumes work next week. Well, why wasn't it the focus before you let the Senate go on recess, you dumbass? Senator, the day after they got Amy Coney Barrett confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court, Moscow Mitch McConnell let the Senate go on recess until November 9th without having passed a coronavirus bill and coming to agreement with Democrats in the House of Representatives. So now you want to say that a coronavirus bill should be finalized before the end of the year and will be the focus of the Senate when the Senate resumes next week? Why wasn't that the focus before you went on recess? Why wasn't that the focus back during the summer when you let the Senate go on recess for a month and you hadn't passed the bill? Elections have consequences. You had 8 million Americans who have slipped into poverty as of May, of this year, tied to coronavirus and the coronavirus pandemic. There was an article from Washington, NBC News. Article from NBC News dealing with this. We talked about this here on the show. Okay. All this is tied to, politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. So all this impacts your economic conditions. And let me see, where did we put that article here? Hold on. I want to look at this here. I've got articles all over the place. This was 8 million Americans slip into poverty. And I've got so many articles dealing with coronavirus. Okay, we'll here it is right here. I knew it was right here in front of me. I got 2 stacks of articles on top of the keyboard to the laptop. So I got probably about 70 articles here. This is one stack. This is the other stack. So this is not a game. All right. So this article here from, hold on, let's go back to the top of the page. So this article here from NBCnews.com, 8 million Americans slipped into poverty amid coronavirus pandemic, new study says. 8 million Americans slipped into poverty amid coronavirus pandemic, new study says. Researchers looked at the devastating financial effect the pandemic has had on Americans, with African Americans, Latinos, and children faring the worst. Okay. This is from October 16, 2020, NBCnews.com. Check out this article. Okay, this is serious. The number of Americans living in poverty grew by 8 million since May 2020, according to a Columbia University study, which found an increase in poverty rates after early coronavirus relief ended without more to follow. Which found an increase in poverty rates after early coronavirus relief ended without more to follow. So this deals with the CARES Act, which was passed through the House of Representatives and U.S. Senate, signed into law by Donald Trump. It's the least he can do because most of this is his fault. Although the federal CARES Act, which gave Americans a one-time stimulus check of $1,200 and unemployed workers an extra $600 a week, was successful at offsetting growing poverty rates in the spring of 2020, the effects were short-lived, researchers found in the study published Thursday, around October 16th. After aid diminished toward the end of the summer, poverty rates, especially those among minorities and children, rebounded, they said. The extra $600 a week in federal unemployment insurance was scheduled to expire July 31st, 2020. Everybody in the House of Representatives knew this. Everybody in the U.S. Senate knew this. Democrats in the House of Representatives passed the HEROES Act, the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act, which was the next coronavirus bill. They passed that in May 2020 to get ahead of the deadline and to get all the negotiations out of the way so you can pass another coronavirus bill to bail out Americans. It goes to the Senate, and they take their time in the Senate while they keep confirming unqualified federal judges. And then before they went on this last recess that they're coming back from November 9th, they came out for, let's back up. Because the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act cannot get passed in the Senate, Democrats in the House of Representatives then came back with a $2.2 trillion bill to reduce it. Republicans came with a $1.8 trillion bill, but the way the money is allocated in the $1.8 trillion bill has less of an emphasis and is less helpful to the average American citizen. It's different than the bill from the House of Representatives. Then Republicans in the Senate come with a skinny bill that's $500 billion. That doesn't pass either. It's a joke. So McConnell says, "Oh, when we come back from recess, we're gonna make it a priority to get this bill passed." Why didn't you make it a priority before you went on recess during the summer, when you let the Senate go on recess for a month? Why didn't you make it a priority when you were trying to ram through Amy Coney Barrett and put on the U.S. Supreme Court? Why didn't you make it a priority then? After aid diminished toward the end of summer, poverty rates, especially those among minorities and children, rebounded, the report said from Columbia University. Quote, "The CARES Act, despite its flaws, was broadly successful in preventing large increases in poverty," said Zach Parolin, Parolin, a postdoctoral researcher at Columbia University and one of the study's authors. Okay. So check out this article here, and we're going to post this information here. Ask for this through Cash App, $ the TheAHNShow through Cash App. Okay. The federal stimulus saved about 18 million. So the CARES Act. Okay, and we talked about all these bills here on the show. The coronavirus bill, the CARES Act. The federal stimulus saved about 18 million Americans from poverty in April 2020. the federal stimulus saved about 18 million Americans from poverty in April 2020. Zach Perolin said, but as of September 2020, the number is down to 4 million that have been saved from poverty. A family of four earning $26,200 a year or less is considered living below poverty, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The total number of people in the U.S. living in poverty is 55 million, including the 8 million who just slipped into poverty since May 2020, according to Columbia University researchers. Now, the study comes as negotiations for a new coronavirus stimulus package have stalled and Americans continue to be without relief for the foreseeable future. Columbia University researchers track monthly poverty rates in the U.S. between February and September, or before and throughout the coronavirus pandemic. Quote, we found that the monthly poverty rate increased from 15% to 16.7% from February to September 2020, even after taking the CARES Act's income transfer into account. Increases in monthly poverty rates have become particularly acute for Black and Hispanic people as well as children. Okay, so check out this. We'll post a link to here. We'll post a link to this article here. This is from NBCnews.com. 8 million Americans slipped into poverty amid coronavirus pandemic, new study says. Okay, and you got people telling African Americans don't vote. Usually those people, either they're dumb as hell or they're trying to sell you something when they tell you don't vote. I mean, this is what you do. Pay attention. Pay attention to this, right? Because usually they tell you voting doesn't matter, Democrat, blah, 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 all of this stuff, right? And then they tell you what you need, you got to go to them to get. Take their seminar, take their class, buy this, buy that, join their organization. Whatever they tell you, whatever they tell you is the solution, you got to go through them to get it. Just observe. Now, I'm all for economic empowerment, things like that. I taught entrepreneurship for 7 years. My degree is in business administration. But I also understand politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. I also understand that politics shapes the economy that your African American owned business operates within. And our tax dollars help finance all this stuff. Okay, so we need to vote for when you vote for people in elective office. These are fiduciaries over taxpayer dollars. These are people who determine how taxpayer dollars are being utilized. So we're going to pay our taxes and not have a say in how our taxpayer dollars are utilized. All these policies impact our conditions on a daily basis. When we talk about the CARES Act, that 41% of African-American owned businesses have gone out of business as of April 2020 because of the coronavirus economy. 41% of African-American owned businesses. Forbes.com has an article dealing with this, dealing with how African-American owned business, how African-American small businesses have been devastated by coronavirus. It's probably 50% of African-American owned businesses now that are out of business. It's probably 50%. Look, Toya said the so-called woke folk, too woke to vote. You know, so a lot of this happens when people don't understand history, law, politics, don't understand how all this comes together, how all these policies impact our conditions. Okay, everything that people are protesting against, things like that, those are the side effects of bad public policies usually. And you need to have elected officials in office to properly respond to your protests. Well, how'd they get in office? They were either elected or appointed by somebody who was elected. All right. So a lot of times you got people too woke to vote. And I've said this before. Many times people confuse being woke with sleepwalking. Many times people confuse being woke with sleepwalking. Let's see here. What else were we looking at here? All right. Network.com to the African History Network. We were looking at updates on. Okay, how's everybody? Okay, we got Brian, Toya, Leah. Stand by, everybody. All right, let's continue. Okay, so with 9.5 million coronavirus cases. Hold on, let me see. The screen's jumping around. Okay, so Senate Majority Leader Republican from Kentucky and Mitch McConnell maintained his. So we got to deal. Mitch McConnell retained his Senate seat, and maybe he'll resign for health reasons or something like that. I don't know. Jamie Harrison lost his race in South Carolina to Lindsey Graham. Okay, African American Jamie Harrison. But let's look at this. Scroll down to these updates here. Okay, so a small airport in Iowa wants to use relief funds to screen passengers for the coronavirus, but the plan has been held up for months by the Federal Aviation Administration. A North Dakota rancher who died of COVID-19 in early October has won a seat in the state legislature. Imagine that. Let's see here. Let's scroll down. With nearly 9.5 million coronavirus cases reported to date, the United States is adding new infections at an unprecedented rate. It's not because they're doing more testing. It's because the virus is spreading more. The infection rate is drastically spreading. Though India set records by logging close to 98,000 new coronavirus cases in a single day in mid-September, the country has made significant progress in flattening the curve and is now averaging about half as many infections per day, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. The 7-day average for new cases hit record highs in 20 states, spanning every region of the country on Wednesday, November 4th, with the largest increases taking place in Colorado, Maine, Minnesota, and Iowa. Colorado, Maine, Minnesota, and Iowa. The 7-day average for new cases hit record highs in 20 states, spanning every region of the country. Now, this is according to data tracked by the Washington Post. 3 states, Kansas, New Mexico, and Wyoming, also reported their highest daily fatality counts to date. Quote, "We are in the middle of an emergency. We have cases higher than they have ever been since the pandemic started. And yet you will have people paying less attention than ever to COVID," said Eleanor Murray, an assistant professor of epidemiology at Boston University. "We as a country are not in a place right now where it's safe to do that." Elections have consequences. When Donald Trump asked African Americans in 2016, what the hell do you have to lose? The correct answer was everything. The correct answer was everything. A lot of people realizing that. That's why they took their answers out and voted. They said, oh, hell no, we can't take another 4 years of this. 20% of the deaths related to COVID-19 are African Americans. 20% of the deaths. Dr. Scott Atlas, who's a radiologist, not an epidemiologist, not a virologist, Donald Trump saw him on Fox News, brought him onto the White House pandemic team, the White House coronavirus pandemic team, and he's taking the lead. They pushed Dr. Anthony Fauci to the side. Dr. Scott Atlas, a radiologist, has taken the lead. He's really pushing this theory of herd immunity. So when you look at the predictive models for herd immunity, for herd immunity to take place and so many people, so many millions of Americans to be exposed, more than what's now, to be exposed to coronavirus and build up the antibodies, you're talking about between 3 to 4 million people dying. Well, 20% of them are going to be African Americans. So you're talking about between 600,000 to 800,000 African Americans dying to quote unquote achieve herd immunity, if that will work in the first place. And because now we're seeing cases, Dr. Anthony Fauci just talked about this in the past couple of days. We're seeing documented cases of people who are being reinfected with coronavirus as well. All right. All right. So look, hey, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow night. You can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Turn on the yellow donate button. So this really helps out because we're here 6 nights a week. This helps buy paper, buy ink. This is a time commitment doing 6 nights a week. So that really helps out. All my DVD lectures are available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, we have the Black Migration 1619 to 2019 bundle pack. That includes my presentation, 6 Principles of Political Self-Defense, understanding how laws and policies impact the economic conditions of African Americans. And we have a lot of other DVD lectures there as well, and digital downloads also. All right. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.